Anybody in the waiting room?
Good afternoon and welcome to Leading the Conversation. This is our weekly podcast from NAMI Northern Illinois. Today we have a very special program and I'd like to my name is Warren Boykin. I'm the Program and Outreach Coordinator for NAMI Northern Illinois, and I'd like to introduce our host for today, Ms. Jeanette Towns.
Good afternoon. As Warren said, my name is Jeanette Towns. I am in charge of In Our Own Voice, which is NAMI's way for our participants and members to tell their story of their mental health journey. So today we have three speakers. Each of them will share their journey with you, and each person's journey is unique. So I hope that you will stay with us for the hour and hear these dynamic stories. First up, we're going to have Mr. Warren Boykin.
Well, thank you. And I'd like to thank all the participants, all our attendees. Um, we do have a question and answer box that is active. This is a webinar format, so if you would like to type a question to us, we'd be happy to answer that after the speakers finish. So, tell you a little bit about myself. Um, I was born in Cleveland, Ohio. Came to Rockford to go to Rockford College, which is now known as Rockford University. And I was born in the 60s. I won't be too specific about that. Don't want to give away my age too quickly. But it was a kind of a turbulent time to come up in. But I'd have to say that I had a pretty interesting, or I'd say kind of the storybook childhood. Um, it actually turned into a pretty nice life. I currently have uh, a wife that I've been married to for 41 years. That kind of gives you a hint of how long I've been on the earth. And in addition to that, I have two children, one of whom is out in Portland, Oregon, my son, Josh. And he works on the internet on video game something or other. And my daughter uh, lives here in Rockford, where I live, and has recently been blessed with two young twin sons. So I have two grandchildren. Um, as I mentioned before, I've also been blessed with the opportunity to work for NAMI. And NAMI is actually our nation's largest grassroots mental health organization with over 600 affiliates. The one here locally is called NAMI Northern Illinois, and we cover four counties, Winnebago, Boone, Stevenson, and Joe Daviess counties. Well, just a little bit about me. I mentioned had kind of a nice growing up. I have four brothers and sisters. I have two brothers and two sisters. And as I mentioned, I went to um, Rockford University. Uh, let's see. Growing up, I delivered newspapers. And recently, when I was speaking to a group of young people, I had to explain what newspapers were. It was big sheets of paper. I don't know the age of the people in our audience, but um, growing up, I oh dear, excuse me. is, I'm sorry. I understand. Thank you. It's kind of difficult to talk about my experiences growing up because um, I was born into a family where all the kids were smart, and I was in what they now call gifted program in Cleveland, Ohio. And growing up, I had a little uh, experience of having my teachers say, he's got all this potential, but my grades never reflected it. Tended to look out the window and be distracted coming up, but learned to read early. And those early experiences led me to some very interesting uh, experiences like singing with the Cleveland Orchestra. Um, my parents believed in everybody learning to play an instrument, so went to the Cleveland Institute for music, and really, I never could finish practicing. Uh, all this is to say, it's a pattern that has gone through my whole life. Having all of this um, natural ability, it seems, but never being able to quite get over to that level of accomplishment that my brothers and sisters had gone to. Um, I mentioned a pattern. I mentioned going to Rockford University. Same thing happened in college. Did great at the beginning, but got distracted. Met a girl, and once that distraction happened, got sidetracked and led me to get into some partying, that's what it used to be called. Well, despite that difficulty accomplishing what I possibly was capable of in college, my first job was with IBM. The same pattern happened. I mean, what an incredible opportunity. Get with the largest computer company in the world, traveled to Dallas to be trained. But I really, well, got laid off in what they called reduction of force. That was kind of shocking. So I prepared for a new career, jumped ship, worked for ABC Supply Company. I don't know if anybody's heard of them, but you've probably seen their Indy car, their racing cars with Indy and so forth. Anyway, all that is to say that this pattern of being having a great start, but not quite being able to get over the hump, led me to leave jobs kind of repeatedly. And each time I left a job, I tried to get the job with a little bit less responsibility. Um, I ended up working uh, after I left ABC Supply. I went to the school district and I had a similar experience. Even had uh, an episode where I yelled at my boss. And it's not like on TV when you yell at the boss, you get fired. And so, um, but instead of leaving the school district entirely, I did my first love, which was working with computers again, and became a computer a paraprofessional. That is kind of a part-time type of job, or an entry level position, and was working at UPS, throwing packages in the morning and doing the school thing in the afternoon. Well, one of the schools that I worked with, the principal was married to the director of the Center for Mental Health at one of our local hospitals. And I worked two jobs, the school thing and working at the hospital on this and the Center for Mental Health. Um, it was an interesting position because I got to see people at their worst, but I had a connection with folks because I could relate to people having mental health concerns. And one day I sat down at the lunch table with one of the docs and said, I always feel like I'm about to get fired. And she said, have you ever thought of therapy? And I said, I don't even know what that is, even though I had been working at the Center for Mental Health. And I went to see a therapist, um, even got some medication, but it wasn't really designed for what I found out later was called ADHD. That's what I was diagnosed with, and depression, because having all that potential and losing all those jobs tended to be kind of depressing. Well, um, long story short, years and years passed, ended up losing the job at the hospital after almost 20 years, and ended up unemployed for the first time in my life since the paper route when I was 8 years old. But I got to experience what many of the clients that I had seen at the hospital go through. I gained about 40 pounds. Uh, let's see. But well, I actually decided to take some classes at one of our local mental health institutions. And a friend of mine told me to apply for Medicaid. So I got a chance to see what that insurance was like. Started taking classes in wellness, and I heard about an opportunity for a training program called the Recovery Support Specialist Training Program. The got into that program even though I'd worked for 20 years in mental health and got 6 months of classroom education that was more in depth, writing papers, charting notes, practicing everything, and learning about mental health. And in addition, and then in the middle of that experience of being in that recovery support specialist training program, I heard about an opening at NAMI here. Because of the Winnebago County mental health tax, they were able to fund a position for me part-time. So I did my internship with the Recovery Support Specialist Training Program and worked part-time for NAMI. And I've become a recovery support specialist. And just recently, after turning 65 and um, getting Medicare insurance, I was able to see a therapist who knows about ADHD, recommended a doctor who had me take EKG and things like that to make sure I could get medication that I could actually take for ADHD. I feel like my life has improved. I think my ability to handle things and follow through on things has gotten better. That helps. And what's next for me is really the opportunity to show people that there is hope. You can get better. Um, I work with a great team, including Jeanette, Uh, we have an incredible executive director, Danielle, who understands mental health and understands that people really need support. And she's a very supportive boss, I'll say. Uh, I've learned a lot, and I really want to share what I've learned with others. We've had a chance to do some great classes, and I really enjoy helping volunteers explore what they're capable of. So if I can do it, basically, I have to say anybody can do it. So that's my story. Uh, I hope it encourages you.
Thank you, Warren. We're going to save questions for the end of the session. Next up, we have a young man, Mr. Calvin Wesley, who is sharing his story for NAMI for the very first time. Calvin, take it away.
Oh, Calvin, you're muted. You'll have to unmute your microphone.
You hear me now?
There. Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay. Once again, my name is Calvin Wesley, and I was born in Chicago, Illinois, back in 1980. With me growing up, I never had the privilege of actually getting to have a relationship with both of my parents. Both of them passed in 80. It was 85. They both passed, and so I was 5 years old. At the point of time, I was staying with my granny because my granny took custody of us for whatever reason. I didn't know because I was too young. But I know when my mom was in the hospital before she passed, she ended up giving custody of me, my brother, and my sister and my brothers over to my granny. And so, from there, we moved to Rockford. And I think moving here, like I said, I was too young to really take things in. But one thing I always knew growing up is even though I had a loving family, that to where the fact that we didn't have a lot, we knew how to come together, but it was a lot of dysfunction. And a lot of that dysfunction didn't show until as I was getting older. We used to be in the church and stuff. My granny used to have us in a choir. And, it brought a lot of peace. I remember those memories of just feeling at peace and being the lead singer. As time went, something happened to where my family stopped going to church. And uh, I think someone stole money or whatever the case may be. And so we stopped going to church. And that really changed the dynamic of family and the togetherness. All that it turned into a lot of partying. It turned into a lot of drug usage, family members every weekend, everybody coming over to our home and stuff. And from there, like as a kid, I used to take things in. There's a lot that I didn't understand um, when it comes to just uh, learning to navigate through what I was seeing. There was no one really to sit me down and say this was wrong or this, because everything that everybody was doing, the fact that they did it in front of us, it sort of like it was looked at upon as okay. So that's some of the things that shaped my life, being exposed as a young one. I think coming up for me, it was education. I really struggled with education. It was my comprehension. I just didn't comprehend because I didn't know how to read. And when I tried to, it's almost my mind. I got easily agitated to where I got the daydreaming and just doodling on a piece of paper. I had a lot of pressures that I was dealing with that I never got help with. So um, I pretty much kind of was on my own going through life. And my granny, she had so many different grandkids that she had to attend to that I, getting that one on ones and that help that I needed. It was too much going on in the family for her to even give me that. So I ended up no. What happened then is my granny passed. my granny ended up passing, and when my granny passed, just kind of family fell apart, right? So family fell apart, and the togetherness that I thought we had, we didn't have it because my granny was the glue that held the family together. And when I seen that, it really emotionally, like, it disturbed me. It really got to my heart, to where I was lost. For one, the person, my anchor, my everything. You know, it's she was no longer here, and prior to that, like, I just lost my mom and my dad. I forgot to state, I lost my dad, my mom. At first my pops passed, and 6 months later my mom passed, and then I moved. Then my granny, we moved to Rockford, and shortly after that my granny passed. And on top of all these other issues, as a young person just trying to understand life, and I was staying with my grandfather where I used to get abused. I I'm when I tell you I had the webs, the blood, and all that, and getting yelled at. To this day, I still struggle with being in environments, or just a lot of yelling. Or if someone yell at me, it really affects me in a way to where I used to shut down. To this day, my wife, she gets on me about it, stonewalling. It's just how I learned to handle hurt growing up. Excuse me. Is how I learned to handle hurt growing up. So, long story short, in school, I struggled. I started things and I never finished, and it grew into patterns throughout my life, to where I always try to motivate myself to do stuff, but it never was a longevity thing. Soon as a problem happened and issues and situations are going on, the pressures was so much that I stopped doing everything that I was supposed to be working on, because of the pain, and I never was taught to deal with what I was going through, so I just gave up. And these behaviors carried on all the way up into my 30s. You know, um, from there, with the school stuff and struggling in school, since I felt like I was useless, and I didn't have the capability of catching on like everybody else did. I wanted to be a class clown. I did things just to get attention. Really, I was hurting, but I wanted someone to see me. Um, I joined the gang. I was around people. I used to be the butt end of the joke, and I didn't know because I was green, and I was really doing things to be accepted. And really, people used to just pretty make fun of me, and I grew up with these built in feelings that I never had counseling before. Honestly speaking, I had it with me and my wife to this day, but I never had my personal counseling to where I got to the underlying truth about like what I was experiencing as a child. Um, so from there, it was the gang, and I got mistreated. And from the gang, I sold drugs, and selling drugs led to me doing prison time. And from prison time, it was more like, just thinking about life in general, as far as like what I'm going to do. I got tired of, I did 3 bids, and my third bid, it was like I'm tired. I didn't want to, continue that cycle of, getting out, trying to do the same thing that I once did, thinking that I can do it better. And I went through that, and I lost a lot of people within that time of being incarcerated. I lost my auntie. I just lost a lot of good people in my life, to where it caused a lot of pain, to be honest with you. Luckily, I had a mentor. His name is Bill Bond. I met him in a Rockford Rescue Mission when I was homeless. I went there and I stayed. I graduated the program, but he stayed pretty much helping me throughout the rest of my life, from the age of, what was it? I think 22, no, 23, all the way up into he passed away 3-4 years ago. So he was a history teacher working out in Roscoe. but him and his wife, they took me in and they just showed me love, and the things that they showed me I never experienced before. And it was awesome for me because it was like almost as if what I was missing, God knew what I was missing. He gave it to me, and it was like some grandparents. So they took me in, they taught me a lot. And also, I had a counselor to where when I was in a Rock for Rescue mission, his name was Gary Merkel. He took his time with me. So it was people who took their time with me. And when I tell you I was a hot mess, I was a hot mess. The things that I learned in order to get by, just young and thinking I know and making myself look foolish at times. That's what I did. And with with the help of these foster parents and the mentor Gary Merkel, they just helped me see life from a different perspective. And I didn't change right away. Like I said, I went to prison, and I think on my last bid from prison, I decided, like, you know what, I don't want to go down this lane no more. Like, I just got tired of being tired, to be honest with you. And from there, I got to working with what was it? It was a nonprofit called The Right Way, and I was the president of the. And just mind y'all, I didn't know nothing about no nonprofit. I just wanted to help, to be honest with you. And it was an opportunity to where a friend, he asked me, would I be the president? And that's where I started to get the exposure of working in the community, right? And in the process of doing that, like, but I didn't have a job or nothing, uh, and trying to get money to take care of myself. That was hard. The job that I presently had, I took care of my brother who was on dialysis, and he basically was a diabetic. So I took care of him when I got out of prison, and that's the only thing that helped me get by until Steve Stottleman threw a felony expungement at the Norloff, and I signed up. As soon as I seen it on TV, I rushed to it, signed up, because I had been getting turned down by jobs, and I knew I wanted to change my life, but I needed help, and I didn't have all that around me at that time. So I had to learn to execute on the opportunities that was presenting itself around me, and not try to depend on other people, what I'm saying, to do what I need to do to help myself, right? So after doing that, I went to Rock for Housing. I filled out for Section A. And from there, they ended up, in 2 weeks, they accepted me in Winnebago in Rock for Housing. But I ended up choosing Rock for Housing. So they told me, I explained to them I'm in a process of getting my record expunged. They told me as soon as that process is done, come back to us. And as soon as that process was done, I went back to them, and guess what? I got Section A. So that was one of the main that was one of my biggest hurdles, because I didn't have nowhere to lay my head. I was living from house to house. So after they gave that to me, now I got a place for me and my brother, because I moved my brother in with me, and I was able to take care of him. May he rest in peace. But the time that I had him, man, it was just awesome. Me and him, we had a chance to grow, and we taught each other a lot, from that aspect. So from there, I ended up getting my own organization called the Power of Hope. I used to have encouraging friends around me, Tratera Flowers. I worked with her with Get Connected. She used to tell me all the time, Calvin, you got it in you to do anything that you want. I think you should start your own organization. And once again, I didn't know anything about a nonprofit, honestly speaking, right? Let alone I struggled hard with education. Like I said, I was one of those people who started things and didn't finish it, and I didn't understand myself. To this day, I'm still trying to understand why I do things the way that I do. God is starting to teach me a lot more about myself when it comes to the trauma and everything that I went through. Other people used to look at me like something was wrong with me, but and I almost bought into the thoughts, what I'm saying, to where, I always used to play victim, because I really didn't know. I was hurting, but as I continue on and I got more deeper with my relationship with God and, the people that were put in my life, just having those conversations, I began to know my identity. I no longer tried to identify, my identity based off of the friends and the streets that I grew up around, right? Because that's all I knew. So I thought my identity relied in the streets. But when I learned about myself, I started to let go of things. I had to learn to heal, to be honest with you. I had to learn to, like, tell myself it's okay. I was too young to protect myself, and you know, now I know better, and now I can make better decisions. So that's what I pretty much started doing. I'm kind of everywhere, sequence wise, but I guess what I learned out of everything is, you know, never give up. You know what I'm saying? I think that's one of the biggest things that I've learned over time, to never give up, because going through a lot of hardship, it makes you just want to, just to be honest with you, when it seems like you're yelling and nobody hear you, it makes you want to give up, right? You know what I'm saying? But what I learned is, like I said, like, I reached out to the people who showed me love, and it was genuine and it was unconditional. And I continue to stick with these people. A prime example, the city of Rockford, Miss Jennifer Cachapalia, and Tom, them, like, the love that they show me is unbelievable. Even NAMI, like, to be around people who don't judge you and who accept you for who accept you for you, you just don't see it a lot, So, like, in Tratera, I gotta put her, like, she's like my TT, like, she just helped me believe in myself when I used to doubt. To this day, I still doubt, but I got good people to remind me that you are more than what you seen yourself back then. And so, like, yeah, I got my own organization, and my mentoring program is under construction. I'm doing barbershop talk one-on-one with NAMI and the city of Rockford. These are the projects that we put on in order to try to help people in the community. And I am presently still, attending school stuff, just to help myself get over some hurdles. That's another conversation. And, I'm working at Rockford Housing. The people that helped me get a place to live, I now work with them, and I'm a case manager over at Youth Bill, working with 44 youth, to pretty much help them, with various issues, and to help them sort out their life by just being a mentor and a brother, a father, and whatever it is that they need me in order to help them be a better version of themselves. So with that being said, thank you guys. I can't hear.
Thank you, Calvin. You did an amazing job. Everybody, this was Calvin's first time sharing his story for NAMI. Wow. Thank you, Calvin.
You up?
I want to remind people, if they have questions or comments, they can put them in the chat. I think, Calvin, you can see the chat too. But
Yes.
thank you, everyone, for your comments.
And now we have Ethan. Ethan, take it away.
Okay. Well, this is my first time as well. So I'm a little nervous. I got the stuff we wrote down in training, but I think I'm gonna try to go off my head a little bit. Um, so to start, I'm Ethan. I'm 26, so I'm at a different stage of the journey than the other speakers were. Um, I am a massage therapist by trade, and I also take care of my grandmother. Um, Kind of an all-around nerd. Growing up, the earliest sign that I was going to struggle with mental health was probably in third grade. That was my first panic attack that I can remember. And from there, with the way that life challenges you, things just kept getting worse. So my parents got divorced when I was 5. And unfortunately, that's a pretty common story these days. But Um, so I moved around the same two towns, so nothing too crazy. But with each move and each new house and things like that, I just struggled to adapt. And and I started to develop some patterns there of avoidance. Um, Going to school and skipping class, just not paying attention, um, struggling to maintain friendships, growing up that left me feeling really isolated. And especially as I struggled more and more, my parents didn't understand anxiety. So now I have a good relationship with my parents, but growing up, they were definitely triggers, you making things harder, making school harder, making just anything where I was feeling, sick or anxious, they'd make it a million times worse, not believing me and understanding. Um, and from there, I ended up dropping out when I went to high school, um, and kind of just fully isolating for a couple of years. Um, I went, I moved from Byron School to Rockford School District and did not do well. Um, Byron's where I grew up. And After dropping out, I kind of just like fully gave in to like social anxiety, didn't leave the house for a couple of years. Basically just sat on my butt, played video games with my friends who did go to school, got back home, you know? Uh, and at that time, I was not coping well at all. Um, and I wasn't learning what I needed to at that point either. I was setting myself up for failure without realizing it at that time. And when I finally turned 18, I said, okay, now things are going to change. And I tried to change a million things all at the same time. Got my driver's license, went to school for massage therapy. Instead of taking my state licensing test and actually starting working in massage therapy, I decided I was going to join the military. I joined the Navy, got sent home during basic training because I could not control my symptoms of anxiety. I thought I could last long enough. Other people would have a harder time than me. And I was very wrong. I set myself up for failure with that one. And kind of like Warren was saying, I found myself stuck in this pattern of starting things and quitting them. Um, and Calvin was mentioning that too, where anytime I knew in my heart that I wanted to change and that I needed to change, but that I hadn't addressed the core issues enough to actually help myself get there. And this is something I'm still working on to this day. Uh, but as things progressed, I finally got my license and started working. The issues were still not quite at a place where I could cope. Um, Started working and could only work for a couple months before taking some time off, finding a new job or coming back to the same job, starting over. Um, and yeah, I had a small group of friends, met a girl, all these things, but I just couldn't keep up. Eventually, COVID rolls around. Um, 2019 was a pretty hard year for me right before COVID. A lot of things happened and changed in my family. That's when I moved to my grandma's house to start taking care of her. That was because of, unfortunately, some drama in the family. wasn't intended to be. I'm taking care of a family member now, but um, then um, I tried working for a while, and I hit a point where I froze. Like the other speakers were saying, I was shutting down. And just like when I dropped out, um, I shut down hard. And this is something I'm just now coming out of. Starting this volunteering was one of the steps for me coming out of that, because from basically December 2019 to like the summer of this year, I hadn't really held a job. And now I'm finally I've a little over a month and a half at my current job. This is my first um, actual speaking arrangement, and and it took thank you. Uh, it unfortunately took things kind of falling apart around me to force me out. So the person that I met and got in a relationship with, they left because of how I was handling my issues after 5.5 years. Um, and that was a big wake-up call, as well as things changing with my grandma, realizing that if I can't get my life together, like it's only going to get worse from here, and then I will be dealing with the stuff that Calvin was talking about, being homeless and things. I'm working right now to to prevent that from happening by signing up for things like the Rockford Housing Authority and stuff, because I'm still not in a place yet where I've built that stability, but I'm in a place where I'm taking those steps to start. Um, so uh, it's been really tricky, and I've also been working on a disability case in case I couldn't get it together. Um, and we'll see how that goes. The hearing is supposed to be December 3rd, but it's it's been a lot of back and forth, a lot of struggle, a lot of starting and stopping, a lot of shutting down, isolating, burning bridges, um, and just because that's all I had done really to cope as a kid, and I hadn't really given myself the chance to grow out of that. Um, and so taking steps now to try to give myself permission to be successful at a job. To I switched therapists, and I'm starting some different therapy, starting EMDR, switch up my habits, switch up my therapy styles, reach out and try to be involved with the community, and actually take time to genuinely see myself and where I have been holding myself back for so long. Because of course you feel it when you're going through these things, but like Kevin was saying, when you are stuck in there, you just want to give up, you just want to quit, you just want to throw it all away. And that's what I've done, for all of my life really. So taking this time to slow down. That's the hardest part. Slow down and reflect and move past and heal from these things, is kind of where I'm at, in this journey. And I hope I can end up, like Warren, looking back and being like, hey, I got this career and I got this, this nice uh relationship and all that. That's where I'd love to end up. So uh but uh but yeah, we're going through it, and some key points that I feel like I'd love everyone to understand is that, we're all works in progress. I'm definitely a work in progress right now. Um, one of the things that helped me a lot was peer support. The place that I'm going to see through therapy now has a peer support like section who I meet with every week, and they are the ones who help me get in touch with like the Rockford Housing Authority and stuff. Very, very important because a lot of the times there are resources out there that you just don't know of. Um, and it makes you feel a lot more alone than you need to be. I've definitely had weeks this year where I'm calling 988, I'm calling the crisis line just to get through the day. And there's no shame in that. Those resources are everywhere. It's just hard to find sometimes when you're in the middle of the crisis. Um, and the last thing was, unfortunately, it took some external factors, losing some big commitments and and different things changing around me to kind of force me to reframe and recenter. But um, but change is a choice, and we can all make that choice. And there are people out there who are here to help. And that's what I hope to do here in NAMI. So
Thank you, Ethan.
thank you.
You have an amazing, amazing story as well. All three of you gentlemen have been so honest and so transparent. And I really, really appreciate that because a lot of times it's difficult for men to share the downside, the failures, the shortcomings, the vulnerabilities. But having in our own voice makes a difference because you can help somebody else by sharing your voice. So I thank all three of you gentlemen. And at this time, I'd like to open up for questions that are in the chat.
Yeah, actually, man, I was telling, whispering to Jeanette that this has really given me some ideas. I talked about that recovery specialist training program. It has, I think it's a life changer. We should have, we could actually, we have had um, the people from Elgin Community College where we went to the program. They did a webinar like this for us, and it's available on our YouTube page. And if anybody's interested in that, the details of that program, I encourage you to watch that video. But
Are there any questions?
my goal is to have that program here in Winnebago County. Okay, comments. Oh, yes. In case people can't see the chat, we got a comment from Delbert. Two earlier, Delbert said he'd be interested in telling his story. I hope you don't mind if I share that, Delbert. But whew, uh, Jeanette, I have to give her a lot of credit, is the team leader for In Our Own Voice, is what we call them. We have teams. But she's also a coach, and she's actually a NAMI state trainer for NAMI, Illinois. So she goes all over well, she could go all over the state um, and trains people to do this. And even though I've done this before, still makes me nervous. So I didn't know I was going to go first.
I chose Warren to go first because he was the veteran. Um, that's why I chose him first.
But also as a team captain, you make the choices, you line these people up and tell us how we're supposed to do it. Good question here. I mean, good that we have some questions. First question is,
how can we make mental health support more accessible and less stigmatized for men?
uh-huh.
I think one way to do it is by having programs like In Our Own Voice. The more men get out in the community and tell their stories of recovery from mental health issues or tell their stories about their journeys, the more men will feel like they can open up.
Yes.
Because if nobody ever shows that vulnerable side or the challenges that they face, men won't feel safe to come out and talk about what they're going through. NAMI has um, support specialists
And support groups.
and support groups as well. So I am a certified recovery support specialist, which means I help people recover from mental illness and or substance use disorders. And I'm a mental health advocate. So I have a caseload of clients that I keep up with on a weekly basis. And I support them and encourage them and help them and provide resources as needed and lead them to support groups. With that job that I do, people can talk to me one on one about things that they don't want to talk to anybody else about. And I make myself available for that on a weekly basis. Um, I really want men to feel safe to come out of the shadows, come out of the closet, and do what you all did today to bravely tell your story in your own voice. So I thank you for that.
Uh, Actually, I think, well, I tend to get these ideas and then I turn them into programs. And that's why I'm glad that I have the job as a program coordinator. One of the things that we've struggled with is trying to figure out how do we increase attendance at support groups. But I see that we have, 14, 15 people in this meeting alone. And I'm thinking that using Zoom this way, this is a webinar, but if this were a meeting, we've done that before. We've had support group meetings in this hour.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm thinking we have a support group that we were trying to get off the ground called Transformations. And we were going to do a men's support group one month and a women's support group the next month. And I'm really thinking that in this day and age, I wish I could turn it into a poll. I'm not that good with Zoom, but I'm thinking if we did it over Zoom, for one thing, uh, it's more convenient. You don't have to leave your house. Second thing, if you have some social anxiety, it's a little bit easier, I think, to be online. If you decide, oh, this is not for me, you can just click out. What do you think, Ethan, about that idea of doing a support group over Zoom for men?
Zoom, yeah, I think that is nice. And I see there's another question too about advice um, for men who would be ashamed to seek help. I think it kind of goes along the same lines, seeking community with that, because you'll find like the minute you get into any type of group, there are people who are struggling with the same exact thing as you, or they may not have the same story, but they understand what you're going through. Um, and that way, this kind of thing you can pencil it into your day a little easier. You don't have to go out and do something. You can maybe do it like from the car on your lunch break or whatever, like so you're not just it's a little more convenient, I guess.
Yeah, we've actually had people from other states come in, and you might not need to be there every week. And like I said, if you feel like the conversation or you've had enough of it, you just say, okay, I'm done with that. But I really liked also the fact that Jeanette mentioned that we have these different types of support where I never really thought about it. Sometimes you don't want to share in the group. You want to do it maybe one-on-one with somebody. And as a peer, we're not therapists or anything, but I'm sure that people appreciate being able to talk to somebody who has that lived experience.
I've heard on several occasions that I might be the only person, that I am the only person that they open up to. You know, A lot of times people don't open up to their family members anymore because they've talked about it and talked about it, and their family doesn't want to hear about the mental health challenges. So I'm that listening ear and that support. And I've had people say, make sure you call me back next week. I need your support. Make sure you call me back. And I try to be that lifeline for my clients, and they do open up. And I'm a peer support, which means that I've lived through some of these experiences myself. That's the only way I could have gotten this job and have this career, is because I have what's called lived experience. So I'm thankful for my clients opening up.
I want to hear what, Calvin, you probably have that same experience with people talking and sharing with you. Would you say that's true?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think by first for me, I think like understanding my identity and being okay with like you can't use what I tell you against me for one. You know what I mean? Because I opened up and I talked to you about it. Obviously, I'm comfortable with it, right? You know what I'm saying? I understand that like it's a lot of people are silent, with what they got going on, and a lot of times, like Ethan was just saying, when you take that initiative to just kind of put it out there and state what you're going through, it's sometimes it creates this relief in another person, you know what I'm saying? And now is this a safe place, for me to be able to talk, without being prejudged, So like to be able to have these groups and then to explain to the people that's within the group, how we actually will be the confidentiality and the respecting who's speaking and them opening up just and then complying with it and keeping it running that way. You'll get more people who will come and who will open up and talk about their traumatic events, that pretty much change the trajectory of their life, and them seeking advice and help from the people who've been there and is still going through their process of overcoming, those traumatic events.
I'm gonna answer this one. Yeah, Calvin, we've got just 2 minutes, and I have a comment here in the chat from Nancy, who does my job for NAMI Champaign. Actually, I want to talk with you, Nancy, but she says so many people are used to Zoom. However, she's found that in person really helps create a stronger bond, but Zoom is more convenient. Because we have somebody from your area, Nancy. So definitely want to talk to you. I think we can do both.
Yes.
One-on-one via Zoom is also possible. So
Yes.
that's one good thing that came out of the pandemic, is this new technology that we can reach out through cyberspace, and there are people out in the remote areas
Mm-hmm.
that don't have anybody nearby. And this is really, I'm just glad that people have joined us for this, and we're going to continue.
I would like to thank all of the people who showed up on Zoom today. Thank you for spending your lunch hour with us. I would like to thank Calvin, Ethan, and Warren for being so open today. And I respect everybody's time, so we're going to end for today. But look out for next year. We'll be back doing this again. Thank you very much.
Right. And I hope, Nancy, it's okay if I call you soon. All right. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for joining us.